Joy Wilson, and I'm a volunteer at Western Museum, but I'm specifically involved with the Know Your Place project. This is a community-based project which involves mapping important and historical and sometimes quirky features of the town in particular, but North Somerset in general. I've been involved now for just over a year. Doesn't seem like it. It's really flown by. And the thing that first attracted me to it was the fact that there was an element of photography involved. And that's one of my favourite hobbies. So I was immediately attracted to it. And it's just snowballed. And to be quite honest, this year with the lockdown and everything going on around us, it's been a real lifesaver because I can sit down with my photographs, have a look on the website for researching. We've got some lovely books that we've got access to thanks to North Somerset Council and the museum. So we've got loads of information out there. And I quite often get carried away for hours and hours and hours just reading up more than I need to read, and then putting everything together and uploading it to the site. So it's a great way of getting to know a bit more about our town. I've lived here all my life and thought I knew quite a lot about it, but I'm still learning things. And it's got such a big history. It would be wonderful to step back in time and see Weston as it was in its heyday, and all those wonderful mansions and terraces up on the hill, up on Atlantic Road. It must have been a wonderful place, absolutely wonderful. It's a shame that it's a bit faded now, but we still have got those gems around the town and around the county. And we're discovering new things all the time. I've got some particular favourites that I've uploaded, if you want to hear about those.
Yes, please.
There's an old ornate building in Old Post Office Lane at the top of High Street. And popular belief has been for quite some time that it was a Turkish bath. Now that got me quite excited. The idea of Turkish baths in Weston-super-Mare, come on. This is something a bit out there, especially for the 1800s. Anyway, I thought, let's see what I can find out about Turkish baths. So I got in touch with a very nice man who is over in Leatherhead, and he has made it his retirement study of the last 20 years, studying Victorian Turkish baths, and he's got a wealth of information. So I contacted him and said, I'm sending you a photograph of this building and everybody says it's a Turkish bath, but what do you think? And he said, oh, no way, no way. It's far too expensive, by which he meant it was very decorative. It still is very decorative. It's in a very poor state at the moment, but you can see that it was a well-built and beautifully decorated building. So it had to be something special. Well, digging around through my various research resources, I discovered that actually it was probably a hole-in-the-wall pub, a speakeasy type place. It was just one bare room, and they called it the oldie hole in the wall, which is one of the oldest names for pubs in the country. And researching the old pubs, which is no great hardship, it seemed that they were all pretty ornate. So the fact that it was attached eventually to the Market House Tavern, which is one of the oldest pubs at the top of High Street, and at the front of the building, on the front out onto High Street, was a wine merchant's, and that was connected to this little building. So I think there's absolutely no doubt, given the evidence that's out there, that it probably was a wine store, oblique tasting room perhaps, and maybe just a local speakeasy. There was the old market in the what is now the Playhouse Theatre, where that stands. So the market was on really, and people would come in from all over the countryside, and they'd always want a drink at the day before they hitched up their horse and wagon and went home again. So what better place than a little cozy place around the corner? So I'm afraid, I think, I've busted the myth about Turkish baths there, but that sent me running on another project, which was researching Turkish baths in Weston, which of course we've had 3 down the years. And I'm still actually putting the research together and the information that I've got. So I'm uploading those one by one. Other things were, I heard about, by chance, a pirate's grave over at St Nicholas Church at Brockley. Now that had to be investigated. So we trooped over, and lo and behold, there was the grave with its skull and crossbones. And then we moved on to another churchyard nearby, and there were lots of graves with the same emblems on them. And I thought, there can't have been that many pirates who survived to come home and be buried in North Somerset. And looking at the history of graves, which is quite an interesting one actually, graves and headstones and churchyards. It was a popular symbol. The skull and crossbone, it actually meant death. There was it's a grave art. So it's just part of the symbolism that was popular in Victorian times. The various skull and crossbones, the heart pierced with an arrow, that was to symbolize death rather than the cause of death. So I don't think it was a pirate's grave. A nice romantic idea, but I honestly don't think it was a pirate's grave. Most of them ended up on the end of a rope either in London or the Caribbean, and I can't think too many came back to Somerset to be put into a fancy grave. So there have been all sorts of weird and wonderful things. I love the quirky things. And what could be quirkier or more quirky than a 2-headed Patagonian giant? And that's a story that I grew up with. My father talked about the Patagonian giant with 2 heads that was on the old pier, Burnbeck Pier. And I thought, oh, he's making this up. Imagine my surprise when going through the brilliant local studies room at Weston Library, that I found a complete folder about this being. It's a fascinating story again. And the big question is, was it a fake or was it real? And the latest information I've picked up is that they can't actually prove that it was fake. So the experts truly believe that he did exist. And coming from Patagonia, apparently you had very, very tall people there. Whether they were 12'6", I really don't know, but this chap was. So perhaps he is real. And if you ever stray to New Jersey in the United States, he's still on display. So that's something to look out for.
So with Know Your Place, from the sound of it, you've had a lot of fun from the research and the things that you've uploaded. But, well, you know, do you ever find yourself getting lost for several hours within the Know Your Place website? So I know that I certainly do.
Yes,
you know,
definitely.
Start looking at something, and before I know it, I'm sidetracked. And several hours later, I think, oh, I better have something to eat.
Yeah, that happens quite easily. we've even recommended it to neighbours, and they say, what are you doing all day? How are you keeping occupied? We say, know your place. And they say, oh, sorry, didn't mean to intrude. We say, no, it's a project called Know Your Place. And we've explained it, and they said, right, okay, so what do? You just Google Know Your Place, scroll down to North Somerset, click on that, and the map will come up covered in green diamonds. You can expand the map, you can use other overlays to see what was there years before or various different eras, and click on a diamond and you'll find out things that you didn't know. A lot of the items, there's a lot of research has gone into it. Some of them it's just a photograph of a certain street in Weston, say back in 1910, which is interesting to be able to put a comparison of how that street looks today alongside how it was in 1910. And quite often they are exactly the same. You could recognise the street quite easily. So not a lot has changed. It's addictive. Know Your Place is addictive. And yes, I can settle down to think, oh, just have a quick look at this. And 2 hours later, I'm still making notes and fiddling around and saying, right, camera's out, we've got to go out and take some photos. So yes, it has become quite addictive, especially, as I say, the quirky ones, of which I suppose one of the oddest is perhaps collecting Somerset Council finger posts. This is a particular favourite of Cat Lodge at North Somerset, our archaeologist. And I've so far managed to find 62 to upload for her. And some of them are in a terrible state. Most of them are still well maintained, mostly out in the countryside. We don't get too many in the towns, but there are a few rusty old specimens hanging around Weston. So there's always something to do. Even modern things like Dismalland, the Tropicana back a few years ago, that's got its place. So it's not all stuffy history, not by any means. You can learn an awful lot from the site. I'm picking up bits and pieces the whole of the time and think that would be an interesting one to research and hopefully upload. So it has been really, really good fun. And it continues to be good fun because we're still finding stuff to upload. It's great.